Hey y'all, welcome back to Jaxx Drinkwater Southern Cooking and Barbecue. Today we're gonna be mastering juicy, perfectly cooked pork chops every time. We're gonna be doing it in the oven. We're gonna be using the Tyfer Instant Probe core, and this is the secret to nailing the temperature of this pork every time. Now you don't have to use the Tyfer. You could use some other thermometer. This is my go-to thermometer until I met this thermometer, and now this is my go-to thermometer. This one, well, we won't even talk about this one. But in any case, if you want to nail this temperature, if you don't have a thermometer, you need to pause the video, run to the store, get on Amazon, order you one, because that is imperative. Again, I can't emphasize that enough. All right, guys, enough about thermometers. Let's get going. So we got about 2 pounds of pork chops here. They're about an inch thick. We're going to start out patting them dry. We're going to be using a very simple dry brine for these chops. We're going to be doing a little bit of sugar and a little bit of salt. Now, don't freak out about the sugar. Pork chops pork has a natural sweetness to it anyway, but this sugar is not going to really add much to it, but it is going to help us out with the Maillard reaction when we go towards the end of this cook. So we'll start out lightly, just lightly. Now, you're not going to go heavy duty with the sugar. Remember, we're going to save enough for both sides, okay? We're going to go over with our salt. Now, be careful with the salt. It's not like beef. You don't want to really get too heavy-handed with this salt. You want to make sure that you season both sides of this now. And as you can see, we're starting to get a little bit of sweat on these pork chops, which is exactly what we want. You want to make sure that you leave these on the wire rack. That way air can get underneath them. But you're going to put something underneath these so if there's any drippage, this tray will catch any liquid that drops so it's not all over your refrigerator. So after we get these seasoned up, we're going to keep them on this drying rack here in our refrigerator, and you're going to leave it in there between 4, 12, or 24 hours might even be better. What's going to happen is these jokers are going to start sweating, and then it's going to pull in that moisture. So you're going to get a little bit of water or liquid that comes to the top, and then it's going to slowly draw that back in. It's going to make for some juicy pork chops. Going to be delicious. This dry brine is going to be magic. It's going to lock in that moisture. It's going to enhance the flavor. It's going to be delicious. Let's stick these beauties in the refrigerator for 4 to 24 hours. I'll be back in a few hours, but for you, it's just going to be a few seconds. We've let these beauties go overnight. They got a nice pellicle on them. You can see that they're very dry, a little bit of moisture, but not much. We're just gonna kind of pat what we got dry. After we've patted them dry, you're gonna set that temperature to 250 degrees Fahrenheit on your oven. We wanna cook these slowly and a little bit on a low temperature because that's gonna ensure that we keep these things tender and juicy. While your oven's heating up, grab you a cast iron skillet. We're gonna go in with a little bit of olive oil, just enough to coat the bottom of this pan. We're just gonna give this a little roll around there, move that around. We're gonna take our chops, lay these little badgers in there just like so. Now I know what you're thinking. Hey Jaxx, are you gonna put any more seasoning on that? No, remember we did that yesterday. Now you're probably saying, oh, what about pepper and whatnot? Okay, just hear me out. We are gonna put pepper on these, but not yet. These beauties right here are going in the oven just like this. And then later on, we're gonna pepper them at the end. The reason being is because a lot of times pepper will tend to burn. We want these things to be super flavorful. So doing it this way is gonna ensure that you got a flavorful piece of pork and you're not gonna have any burnt or bitterness going on. So if you want a medium rare chop, you're gonna need to pull these chops between 100 and 110 degrees. If you want a medium chop, you're gonna need to pull them between 110 and 120. Personally, I'm gonna be pulling these at 120. And that's where this Instant Probe core comes in. You're gonna want to check these in about 15 minutes. Now, in about 20 minutes, if you're doing a medium rare, It should be relatively close to that in 20 minutes, but we're gonna check them in 15 minutes. And if you're interested in the Typher Instant Probe Core, I'll leave a link below. You can go pick one of these up at a discount using the code JAXXCOOK10, that's JAXXCOOK 10. You don't have to use the Typher Instant Probe Core, but I highly recommend it. You can use another brand. I'm just telling you from experience, folks, if you get one off Amazon, one of the cheaper brands, you're never gonna get an accurate temperature. I've had dozens of them, and this one right here gives you an accurate temperature every time. Now those don't look very promising right now, but they will in a minute. So I've wiped out my cast iron skillet a little bit, but I've left just a tad of oil in there. So now what we want to do, I've removed the chops. We're going to pat these dry really, really well on all sides. Our cast iron is heating up right now. We're getting it screaming hot, and we're going to pan sear these off. And this is what you're gonna need. I got some of that shallot that we chopped up earlier. I got some butter, I got some garlic, and I got some rosemary, and we're gonna be basting it with that. These are gonna be so good, y'all. That's the sound of flavor being created right there. Putting in that butter, putting in these onions. Here goes our garlic. And we're going to use some of this rosemary here. Throw that in there. Now we're starting to come together. Get you a big old spoon. All right, then we're going to tilt our pan. Start basting this goodness on this stuff. We're going to go over it with a little bit of pepper here. And then we're going to give it a sample. All right, let's give one of these a go. Just going to go right here. Tender, look at this. No, it's a bone. Okay. Tender, juicy, fantastic. Not bad. Hey, mama. So oven baked pork chops, it's not necessarily the method in my opinion. It's all about hitting the right temperature, and Typher, you can't go wrong. Again, guys, if you guys want to pick up one of those, Jaxx Cook 10, I'll leave a link below. Juicy, tender, oven baked pork chops. Do it.